Good afternoon. My name is Donovan. Welcome and thank you for joining us to the role of Industry 4.0 in the new normal. And just to set some context, the reason why we wanted to have this session, and I'm going to introduce you to my guests in a moment, is really we just wanted to understand and unpack and have a conversation about how relevant the role of Industry 4.0 and Industry 4.0 initiatives are in the state of the current COVID pandemic and the new normal that we see ourselves in. So we're really hoping that you're able to take some tangible, valuable benefits away from today's conversation, and we're really just excited to be able to do this together with our partners, PTC. So if I can introduce you very quickly to my panelists, we have the lovely Iveta here from our strategy and operations team at Deloitte. And you know, Iveta generally deals with optimization, synchronization, transformation type of tasks here as part of operations. I know you touch on a lot of Industry 4.0 initiatives. What does your typical day look like, Iveta? I'm generally interested because, you know, you're in the next office from me, so.
Hi, Don. Hi, everyone. So yeah, one of our standard days, and I would say most favorite ones, is when we can actually go to see the operations of our client. So I actually love, because most of our clients are manufacturing companies, so I love to put my sneakers and jeans on and just go see the shop floor.
Brilliant. I spent my fair share in production. I miss the smell of burning oil from machines. Joined together with Roman from PTC. Really excited to have you here. Roman focuses really on IoT operations. He's a development business manager for Eastern Europe as well as the Russian market. And I know you're helping your clients with digital transformation exercises, new products, new services. You know, Roman, industrial IoT versus IoT, is this the same thing? Are the two
Very nice question. I would say that if you are a manufacturer of anything and you are producing smart products, then IoT, you use IoT when it comes to your customers and use industrial IoT when it comes to your internal operations. So it's complementary.
Complementary for sure.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Brilliant, thank you. We always get those two mixed up, right? Industrial IoT has been around for some time already. Great, thank you, Roman. Excited to unpack that a little bit later with you. Joined with Robert. Robert and I have been chatting for a long time already. It's great to get you into studio, Robert. And Robert's really...
Good afternoon, and thanks for inviting me.
Brilliant, Robert. And Robert's doing a very similar function, covering a very similar region, but with a bigger focus on augmented reality. And we'll get into that in a moment. Robert's also an Iron Man. I have to mention that because, you know, he always boasts on the phone when we talk. Robert, I know you're super passionate about AR, augmented reality. Why?
I will speak on behalf of non-technical people because that's what I am, right? So AR for us is the way to really understand, interact with the data we might not usually understand in the space we live in 3D world. And the beauty of AR is the simplicity and easiness. You can really create, develop, capture, transform, and consume data, you know, which are around you. And saying that, that's a point number two, or reason number two. I believe that AR is not going to transform manufacturing only, but it's going to transform our daily life, you know, education, tourism, etc. That's why.
Brilliant. I can see how passionate you are about the topic. Your eyes light up every time I ask you. That's fantastic. Joined with us remotely as well, since we are talking about the new normal, we need to have some remote participants. We have also from Deloitte, Vladimir Hash, that is joining us remotely. Hi, Vladia.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Vladia, you've been in industry for about 10 plus years now. What is the one thing that you believe to be true across every operation and client that you've supported in the last while?
Well, first, thank you. I'm more than probably double than you just taught me, but thank you very much for your compliment there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been working since whole my career with the people from every level of the company, you know, starting the executives through the line managers down to the shop operation people, or vice versa, if you want. And what I found out, the critical for success of any mission or project, if you will, is that the people have a common understanding what should be delivered, and they somehow agree to deliver that. That's the crucial stuff, because if it is not there, it's very difficult to deliver anything.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Vlad. Yeah. That's really true, actually. That's great. Thank you. I'm also joined by Carmelo from PTC, all the way from Italy today. So thank you very much for making the time. I know you've been exceptionally busy with year end as well. And Carmelo, just to very quickly introduce you, Carmelo is the Vice President, as you can read on the screen, of Channel Sales and the General Manager of Emerging Markets, not just for EMEA, but also including India. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Sure. Carmelo, when we were chatting, you mentioned that you've been with PTC since 1996, yep. which is incredible. That's just a testimony to me as a youngest person. But as you've been growing with the company, do you find the changes in the market, Industry 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, to be something exciting?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially now, I mean, it's one of the periods where I would say we should be more excited in terms of technology. So we have always had digital transformations happening, in the space where PTC started, that is to say engineering and engineering for discrete manufacturing. The first wave was, moving from the drawing boards to 2D, I mean, electronic 2D and 2D systems. And then moving to 3D systems was the second wave. And then, obviously, there have been a lot of waves around digital transformation. In this moment in time, for the first time ever, we have a technology which allows to go into something unprecedented. That is to say, it allows to close the loop when it comes to engineering and manufacturing service, and really understanding what is happening. So from an engineering perspective, but also in general, having real-time information also on the shop floor, that is really something new. And again, the technology is there, so it's really a very exciting moment for all of us, and it's a really significant change, and what we are all living this say fourth industrial revolution, as they call it.
Yeah. Stunning, Carmelo, thank you. We're going to come back to you in a moment to chat to you in some more detail, so thank you very much for that. I just want to quickly set the context. This is quite exciting for me because Deloitte looks at things from a very much top-down sort of perspective, and PTC brings a wealth of technology. I mean, I don't need to boast that you guys are Forrester, Gartner quadrant leaders, visionaries, as they say. So that's really exciting, and we're going to unpack that in a moment. But maybe to Iveta, just to start the conversation, is Iveta, this Industry 4.0 topic, we hear about it everywhere. Is it a buzzword, or do we see our clients really embracing this?
Well, that's a great question. As you mentioned yourself, basically in the Czech Republic or Central European market, I believe it's somehow perceived as a buzzword still, because we are hearing about it for quite a long time. But a lot of our clients are still at the very beginning of this journey, and I guess for them it's still something that they're not sure how to grasp. Maybe it's because we actually call it the fourth industrial revolution. And if you talk about the revolution, you usually think about something that is quite fast and has like really big impact. So basically overnight, they imagine to have fully automated factory, which is not the case, of course. So maybe it's rather better to think about it or call it the digital transformation. We also heard this term from Carmel as well. Because if you think about the meaning of the word transformation, you rather see step-by-step process. So basically you have the ultimate goal where you want to go, for example, the fully automated factory, but you still need to put it into smaller pieces and then starting to scale and get there over some time.
Yeah, great, that's great, thank you. And Vladya, to you, what are the main drivers that we're seeing for Industry 4.0 initiatives with our clients? So I know we do a lot of work with our C-suite level execs. What are the main sort of drivers and conversations they're having around this topic?
Well, I think that we can sort it out into a couple of buckets. The first one might be the strategy, the further development of the company. And some companies see themselves as business leaders. So they are trying to embrace as much automation into their processes, and even some companies are challenging us. We have everything what is known here now for the moment. help us to uncover new potentials, what we can do better, how we can succeed. You know?
Yeah.
Other thing of that is that they believe that these new technologies can let them come to the so-called exponential growth. So they will come up with new products, new technologies, which they'll allow them to penetrate new trades and even create some new business opportunities and businesses as such. That's the first thing. The second one is obviously the operation. They want to improve the productivity, reduce the cost, competitive, or even stay alive within the environment, which is very challenging and more competitive. And the third one is to somehow use better their data and learn from there. And based on that, to be able to make decisions which are informed and based on real facts and not just on opinions or ideas.
Yeah.
That I would summarize that way.
Brilliant.
We
Thank
can
you.
talk about that for ages, I would
For
say.
ages, I know, and if we give Robert a moment, I'm sure he will. In a little bit.
Don't worry, my time will come. Don't worry.
Brilliant, great.
Right.
Well, then, I mean, that's a good topic, and that really excites me about this relationship, right? And Iveta, I mean, do we see then technology as a huge enabler to drive business success at our clients?
Yeah, of course. Like without technology, we even wouldn't be sitting here today, right? Or at least
Well,
we
we
could
would
be
be.
sitting
We
here,
would be.
but the viewers cannot follow us. So definitely, it's very important for this era and for every new second, third, or fourth revolution. What we need to realize is that basically companies are now working in more and more complex environments. They have tons of data with which they need to work with. They have very complex supply chain networks, so they need to understand what their vendors are doing and at the same time understand the needs of their customers. There are new regulations coming every day. There are cyber threats they need to face. So all this needs to come into one company and they somehow need to tackle all those challenges.
Yeah.
And without technology, this would not be possible.
Yeah.
So technology definitely is the essential enabler, and this is why we have a gentleman from PTC here today, because, okay, we are discussing with our clients on everyday basis all those different challenges that are coming into place, but we will not basically just put the sensors to their production lines, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that I would mention is, yes, the technology is essential enabler, but you need to keep in mind that basically important is to understand what are your business needs and based on that select the correct technology to support your company and your specific needs. Because having amazing robotic arm in your production line is super fancy, but in case you have issues in the warehouse, it will not solve the problem, right? So.
Okay, so having a holistic approach is important as well. Okay, fantastic. And Vladya, I mean, last question to you there is, what are the typical challenges? I mean, Iveta mentioned some of the challenges now, very high level, but what are some of the typical challenges that our clients face with regards to Industry 4.0? And then coupled to that question is, what are the steps you believe that they could take to overcome it?
All right, thank you for that. I can pretty much follow on what just Iveta said. And especially at the beginning of the digitization initiatives, we've seen that especially smaller producers were using this notion to get some funding for their production, you know. And we've seen that robotic arms was a typical example. Companies who are, for example, sub-tiers to automotive, they were buying a robotic arm to beef up their production. However, the OEM decided to stop the model, and suddenly they had a robot which they have no use for it. So it was like, you know, the investment which didn't pay off, and that should be prevented. And I think that's one of the big issues which, you know, something which we should avoid, or the producers should avoid. That's one thing. The other challenge is that typically companies do not have somehow aligned information systems. They are very fragile and fragile, and they do not communicate to each other, the systems. So it means that data are duplicated or missing, and it's very difficult to make something what is called single source of truth. And also the competition is there. So everybody is trying to do some stuff, some fancy digitization, but typically those are isolated solutions like these robotic arms or making some sensor monitoring of part quality or stuff like that. So I think that the first step, what the companies should do, is to have the clear mission, what they want to achieve. Is that about the strategy? Is that about to stay competitive or even survive? Or is that about to deal with the changing workforce? And from there, they should choose the right partners, which will help them to define precisely what needs to be done and how. And also to have some integrated platform, which will allow them to consolidate data from various sources and based on that to make informed decisions. And okay, then probably the most difficult task beside of the implementation as such is to talk to their workforce and sell that internally. That's, like I said at the very beginning, it's crucial for me.
Okay, so the internal adoption is really important in this context. And this is something you see as well? You agree that there's strategy and we need to have discussion and internal adoption. It doesn't make sense to just deploy something in isolation.
Absolutely, sure.
And you see often that underlying data is not available. This is the typical,
That's a daily life.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Vlad. I really appreciate that. That's really insightful. I'm excited to move to Carmelo now as well. Carmelo, as I mentioned earlier, has a wealth of knowledge. He's been with PTC since '96. Which is incredible, and because of the role that he plays across EMEA, including India, which is an interesting market on its own, I want to pose the first question to you, Carmelo. What is the trend that you've witnessed over the last while with this Industry 4.0 topic? Are clients taking it seriously, or is it just something that's on the agenda every week and no one embraces it?
I would say that it is a serious topic, especially at sea level. So everyone agrees upon the importance of such an initiative. I see differences between markets. So there are more I would call them mature markets where you have an adoption of Industry 4.0 which is advanced. Take Germany or certain sectors in Italy. Or in Europe, in continental Europe in general. So you are more advanced. You have other countries where you have a challenge when it comes to the appropriate, let's say, technology to be available to implement Industry 4.0. In the sense that some shop floors are not at the right level in order to adopt the technology, but there is a strong interest to go into that direction. I would say that what I see as a trend in all geos, by the way, is the fact that most companies are looking into ways to start testing the technology and having some early initiatives, so to speak. The major topic there being POCs. So let's try something which is actually a good, interesting project for relative to Industry 4.0. It can be on the shop floor. It can be specific to a specific line or a specific plant. But in general, what I see is that and also what research confirms is that the companies who are actually moving away from POCs and going into a production or large-scale implementations are the ones where they are actually leveraging POCs or the technology in order to try and understand how this technology can actually make an impact from a business perspective. So, C-level is involved, and there is a constant monitoring of the actual business benefits and the actual areas of improvement which will be making a difference for that specific company and that specific production line, for example. So that is it is crucial to have that kind of alignment, because alternatively well, billions are being spent on Industry 4.0 and a lot on POCs, by the way. The risk is to have these projects as isolated projects, which are not related to actually to real business outcomes in the end. So it's very important to rely on experts like Deloitte or, well, market leaders like PTC in order to have the right pieces of advice when it comes to implementing such technologies. The fact that I want to underline, though, is that the technology is available, the expertise is available, and of course you have differences in terms of having people adopting technology, the available technology, depending on, let's say, the ability to find resources who are able to take advantage of the technology. And of course, I mean, some specific initiatives around training properly the resources and motivating to use the technology in order to see the outcomes is also an important element to make sure that everyone is adopting those well, I would call them advancement items when it comes to working in a different kind of environment. But it is something which is happening almost everywhere. So the Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing, depending on whether it's more European-centric or American-centric an approach, is a topic that we are constantly discussing.
Brilliant. Thank you, Camilla. And how about the current disruptions in this COVID pandemic? I mean, we saw manufacturing plants really struggling. We saw other industries really thriving. What is the impact of this COVID situation had on businesses? And has it, in a sense, potentially forced our manufacturing, mining, pharmaceutical type clients to push heavily into this digital transformation space?
Absolutely, absolutely. From that perspective, well, one of the key elements in this, say, new normal that we are all living in, and well, I would have been there if it was not for the new normal. The most relevant thing that we can immediately see is that such technologies are actually helping companies to have a more solid competitive advantage versus what was happening in the past. And most companies are actually having an acceleration in the adoption of such technologies. So if you think about AR, for example, and I'm sure that Robert will be speaking a lot about that, but we are seeing a lot of companies really accelerating on AR due to the fact that, remote assistance, having the ability to share knowledge across geos without having the ability to be there physically, this is becoming a must, And also when it comes to servicing equipment and having the ability to, well, of course, leverage AR on one hand and also have the appropriate data, as Vladimir was saying, it's very important to make sure that you are getting the appropriate data when you are servicing an equipment, because well, you need to have a bill of material which is updated and which actually reflects what you are working upon. So if you combine those elements, that is to say, having the right source of information and the appropriate piece of information, having the ability to see information in a specific context via AR, this is really accelerating the adoption. And well, COVID-19 is actually forcing, in some cases, the use of certain technology. So I would say that COVID-19 is actually accelerating some of the processes that we were seeing as a trend in the industry. So that is what happened. What is happening?
Brilliant, thanks, Carmela. That's a nice big picture view, actually, because it's different between different clients that I talk to. Some are saying their business has doubled, tripled. Others are saying they're on short time. It's very tough. And a lot of the Industry 4.0 teams have actually been let go, even at some of the manufacturing plants, but others are excelling. So it's quite difficult to sort of get a sense of what's happening in the market. But if anyone's going to have the bigger picture view, it will be you. So thank you very much for that. Carmelo, if you had one message that you could deliver to C-suite executives today around Industry 4.0 initiatives. What would that be to those C-suites?
Yeah, as I said at the very beginning, technology is there, data is available, the ability to get data from the products from the shop floor is there. So the amount of data available is even bigger than the actual need. The thing that I would like to suggest is to make sure that whenever they are looking into technology and into moving into Industry 4.0, there is a clear relationship between what is being evaluated and what is being done in terms of Industry 4.0 assessments and implementation with the actual value that the company can derive from that. So it is extremely important that there is a business linkage between what is being assessed and what the outcome for the company will be. I mean, that is going to bring real competitive advantage for the company, and it's extremely important. Alternatively, the risk is spending money on projects which, as I mentioned beforehand, stay isolated, and they don't have, although very nice projects, they don't have a direct linkage with the business. And today, with technology, you can actually, as Vladimir was saying, you can actually change even your business model in a way. So with the technology that you have in hand at the moment, you could think about moving away from selling capital goods and going into service. So selling your product as a service, as an example. That is happening in traditional sectors, and like jet engines, for example, or air conditioning. So if this is happening, it is due to the fact that you have new technology available, which allows you to see what is happening. Same thing applies to implementing Industry 4.0. You need to make sure that you have a clear linkage to the business benefits which the company might be looking for in order to implement a certain technology.
Brilliant. Carmelo, thank you. A clear message there on making sure that your business KPIs are closely aligned to the projects that you're unpacking internally. So that was really, really insightful, Carmelo. Thank you very much for your time. Super excited to transition into the next section where we're going to unpack augmented reality, as Carmelo just mentioned, and the impact that it's having in industry and how it can be applicable to our clients in this new normal, as we call it. So super excited. Stay tuned. We'll be with you in a second. Roman, super excited to be talking about this topic. It's a nice topic. I enjoy it. We ourselves have been playing with some augmented reality. As you can see, this is us using PTC products. Downstairs, we have a digital factory where we're streaming data through IoT. And a recent study locally in the Czech Republic at an Industry 4.0 symposium actually asked participants, what are the main reasons for innovation in your company? To which I was amazed that the highest ranking was efficiency of people, followed by sustainability, quality traceability, which we see often, and equipment efficiency. So, Roman, to you, what is AR and why is it relevant?
Well, AR is a nice abbreviation. Probably most of the audience here on this online meeting knows what does it mean, but I will explain. It's basically augmented reality. Yeah, it's very simple. But what does it mean? Imagine that you can overlay your physical world by the digital world, right? So, like we have seen here, right? So this is kind of information you can project into or onto physical assets, right? And we have several examples, and we'll be speaking about these from industrial ecosystem, industrial space. Yeah. But in our daily lives, we already use AR, right? Imagine you have a sport or fitness application where you can wear the smart glasses, you can project all of the different data onto your screen. It's widely already used in the medicine, right? Yeah. For the explaining the complex medical treatments to the patients or to the relatives, right? Yeah. It's used in the retail. For in-store navigation, because it makes shopping much more attractive, not only for the adults but also for the kids, and also for the retailers. It's good because they can visualize the complementary offering using AR, so they can basically gain additional margin. So AR in all of these areas, it's quite crucial. And last but not least, tourism, and Robert mentioned already that. I think it's really nice to see where I can go for the dinner using AR app as a tourist on the place where I haven't been before, right? Yeah. So, and there is one thing which is important to mention. There are augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and someone is probably concerned. Okay, can I replace augmented reality by virtual reality or not? My opinion is that these two technologies coexist together, and I can give you the example. If you are the R&D team of the OEM car manufacturer, you use basically both of the technologies, right? So if you would like to collaborate as a remote team and visualize the prototype of the car which doesn't exist, then you use both technologies basically, right? So that's basically it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's very real. It's here. I think Robert potentially even used Google to find his way to the office this morning. So that's really cool. Thank you. And tell me. The use of augmented reality in the current COVID state, I mean, do you see an increased importance in that, particularly for our industrial clients?
Yeah, we already heard from both Vladimir and Carmelo that, we are in the new normal, but I would like to look a little bit into the history, because, already in 2017, Michael Porter, who is an American economist and the author and the professor at the Harvard Business School, and our CEO, and President Jim Heppelman, they put together a very interesting article, which is called Manager's Guidance to Augmented Reality. And they already mentioned that, hey, businesses, look at augmented reality as on the technology, which will be very, very important for you in the future. And also, they have already evaluated 3 years ago. They have evaluated that this technology will be very important part of the digitalization strategies of the industrial companies, right? So, and it really happened, right? Because at that time, maybe augmented reality was not fully adopted by the industry, by the market, but at that time was definitely ready to enter the mainstream, right? And it happened, 2020, and we have mentioned this several times. Companies like IDC, they are saying that by 2024, the overall spendings on augmented reality and virtual reality applications will be around 137 billion of US dollars. And, then you are asking yourself, what are the use cases, right? What are the use cases within the industry you would like to cover by this technology? Of course, and mentioned many times, training and visualization of the work instructions, 3D instructions to the maintenance engineers, knowledge transfer, remote assistance, and so on. So basically, COVID changed the way we work, perhaps forever, right? But from my point of view, it accelerated the adoption of this technology. Because, there were some prerequisites already before. And if you look at the first, aging workforce, big problem for all of the industrial companies, because the old workers are retiring. Young ones are coming. They don't want to work with the old school technologies. They would like to work with the modern technologies. And there is a need to transfer the know-how from the old ones to young ones. Second, and Iveta mentioned that as well, complexity. Complexity of the products, customizations, configurations, complexity of the processes, compliance, and so on. So it's very strict. And third, customers. Customers are much more demanding than several years ago. They would like to have a product in time. They would like to have the highest level of the service. Right? So,
and sometimes even see it before in their living room. Purchase it, right? We've seen that perfect example. Okay, well, we talk about these technologies, and I think for a lot of people it's still a foreign concept, right? How do I bring augmented reality into my workplace? And we were just talking about one of our clients that's actually using it for their furnaces not being able to get into their furnaces, not being able to, get close to the furnaces. I've worked in iron castings before where you're talking 900 degrees Celsius. You can't even get within 3 meters of that furnace. And they're using it, streaming data, being able to augment what's actually happening in the furnace, how things are changing. So this is real and this is local, which is really exciting. I mean, what are some of the tangible benefits? I think the audience wants to know, right, fine, if I'm going to give this thing a shot, what are the typical tangible benefits that we can derive or we can see?
Exactly.
You have some examples maybe you can share with us?
Very good question. What we all know, that working from home works, right? Because, we all time to time right now work from home or some people, they are regularly working from home. But what about the people who are frontline workers, right, in the factories? Who are in factories, in hospitals, in retail stores, which is approximately 75% of the global workforce per population. It's really a lot, right? So, and this COVID stuff and COVID crisis or the period of time, even make this importance to be able to work remotely, collaborate remotely, much more, let's say, relevant, right? So. We all know that Office works for let's say, collaboration of the remote teams and WebEx and Zoom and so on. But imagine you are the skilled expert technician who is in quarantine, right? Because you are not allowed to go to the factory and you are not allowed to help the newcomers or the seasonal employees or the part-time employees to fulfill their jobs, right? So imagine you are locked down in your home. So how do you deal with the situation, right? And PTC has such a, let's say, solutions in the areas where we can help our customers with that, especially when first augmented reality, as we discussed, it's kind of, imagine this is kind of Zoom for frontline worker, right? Zoom for frontline workers. And first of all, the area where you can very easily, remotely help the person who is somewhere in the factory annotate the objects directly on the screen of his mobile or her mobile device whenever you are at home, right? Second, you can very easily attach the 3D content and 3D data onto any objects, right? So imagine you are a maintenance guy within the production, and you don't need any paper-based documentation then or PDFs. You are simply using augmented reality. And third, imagine you are expert and there is a need for transferring the know-how. So you can use eyewear, like Microsoft HoloLens or real glasses to capture this expertise and to be able to deliver this to the people who need it.
So using your tools, you can physically capture the motions.
Exactly. First thing is that you keep the know-how within the company. If the let's say the old guy will retire, you still have the know-how. Second, you have kind of standards you create in digital form, right?
Yeah. Very interesting. What is the typical client that's going to benefit from this? Is there a specific group, specific industry? Can you give us some examples?
I wouldn't say so that it's really specific to the industries, but I can give you 2 examples and we can speak about the plenty of customers PTC already is serving when it comes to augmented reality. But I picked up 2 which are quite relevant to the, let's say, period of time we live in. First one is Volvo. Volvo is using augmented reality for training of quality assurance inspectors. And imagine that Volvo engine, when you are doing the quality assurance check, first of all, you need to capture around 40 details, which needs to be checked. When it comes to variations, it can be up to 200 variations. And the guy who is doing that needs to do it within 8 minutes. Right? So you need to have really skilled people, really people who are able to do it in time. And they are using augmented reality for this, and they have achieved 60% savings in time when training such a quality assurance engineers. Right? So it's huge saving when it comes to money and time.
Yeah.
Wow. And second example, which is quite simple, and you can imagine that it's quite normal, Toyota Motors. Toyota Motors using AR-based application for remote assistance. And when you are OEM car manufacturer, you are within the operations, especially Japanese companies, you are not allowed to capture any picture, you are not allowed to capture any videos. So how to deal with the situation when you have a seasonal employees or you have contractors working within your factory, how to help them remotely. And normally it was like that these experts from Toyota, they have been visiting the plants 4 times per week, so it makes much more expensive to go there, travel cost, time, and so on. And right now they are able to help them remotely. So they save the money, they save the time. Whenever they are helping the seasonal or part-time employees or the contractors, they are able to do it remotely. Right?
Brilliant. And again, we have an audience, so I'm interested in augmented reality. Where do I even start? What are the building blocks I need to have in place to embrace something like this?
It's very important. And I think also Carmel mentioned that there must be a business value behind each and every single thought about the implementation of disruptive technologies like IoT or augmented reality. Especially within augmented reality, I would say you have to prioritize, right? So you have to think about your operations or your business from the business perspective. So when it comes to augmented reality, I would advise to focus on high-value use cases, right? So for the pharmaceutical company, for instance, it might be the production line where the product with really high value, which is really expensive, is produced. So focus on that, right? Second, because I have been speaking about how to transmit or capture the knowledge and how to use AR and virtual reality as well, mixed reality. You need to have kind of hardware platform around it. So our advice is really, do not shrink yourself into one piece of one manufacturer of hardware, because you need to be somehow independent from the hardware platforms to avoid to be locked in.
And by hardware, you mean the actual...
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So think about the mobile devices, either, and combination of these all things. And third, of course, content. And content here is quite crucial because, if you have a good content, good data, then, the solution is good as well. So reusage of 3D data, CAD data, which each manufacturer of any single product has in-house, and leveraging of IoT real-time data when using augmented reality applications. Yeah. So my suggestion would be really, to connect with Deloitte and PTC, work together, maybe go through the publications we have on our website, and to be able to start kind of digital twin of your critical employees. Right?
Brilliant. Okay, that's very insightful. Thank you. And like I said, we're embracing some of your tools as well. And I'm just interested. Your software engine. I mean, you're a technology company, right? You can feed augmented reality, virtual reality to various headsets.
Sure.
Without limitation.
Therefore, I'm saying, think out of the box about, how you are going to use this technology. Because, for training, maybe, the headset with the full cover of your face, it's okay. If you are doing something in the field, you need to be hands-free and to not have a covered all the face, right? So, and maybe mobile device on ad hoc basis, which is used on an ad hoc basis at the production line, it's also okay, right? So this is important, to be kind of multi-platform.
Brilliant. Okay, Roman, thank you very much. We're going to transition in a moment into talking about digital twin and digital thread, and I think the two topics are very much interconnected. We're seeing a common trend around having data, having IoT data. So really, that is a building block that is needed, and really, if you're out there and you're still asking yourself how does this augmented reality topic work? We're interested to have a conversation with you. These are just some of the examples that we're talking through today, but really we've got plenty. So stay tuned. We're going to move into digital twin and digital thread with Robert straight after this quick video. Robert, I know you've got lots to say on this topic, so I'm excited to unpack it with you. But I want to start very quickly because I think it's quite supplementary and complementary. Is again out of a recent survey that we've seen where a question was asked, what is the motivation and strategy of your company in terms of digital maturity? And this is companies in and around the Eastern European bloc. So what is the motivation and strategy of your company in terms of digital maturity? To which 70% of the respondents mentioned cost reduction, which we can completely understand, especially in these tricky times. But 60% of them, and this was interesting to me, mentioned that customers' requirements for individualized products and services is growing, followed by 55% has pressure to shorten the innovation cycles of products and services. And I feel this ties in very nicely to this topic of digital twin. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Roman a second ago. What is a digital twin? And what is it good for?
Thanks very much. First of all, applause to Roman for a great speech, and you know, really, this is a beautiful bridge, because what he said at the end of his speech, build a digital twin of your people. You know, build a digital twin of knowledge and skills, and I believe that's something what is absolutely critical, right? Second point, yeah, you know, you can reduce your costs down to zero while you shut your factory, right? So basically, the most important point right now is the second one. You know, how to get your products faster to the market with the higher level of customization, et cetera, et cetera. And I bet you here that, you know, digital twin is a great tool to achieve that objective. So to answer your question, what is digital twin? In fact, digital twin is a mirror of his physical reality, right? So whatever you take, it could be like a facility, network system, it could be a machine or people. It could have its own digital twin, right? So, and it is actually the sum of information, data you collect over the basically physical reality lifetime of that object, right? So basically, as you design it, as you build it, as you use it, maintain it, service it, dispose it. And in regards to people, you know, it could be like, you know, as hired, as trained, as proficient, as promoted, ideally, you know, at the end. So let me give you, let's say, one more example to be more, you know, down to earth, more practical. So probably if we can show that nice picture of the massive equipment done by Caterpillar, you know, the PDC customer for 30 years, right? So basically,
I saw this parked outside.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. So once you want to build that stuff, you need to really go through these phases or stages as engineer, as design, as manufactured, service. And you've got those deliverables coming out of the people working on those phases, and they use multiple tools, right, from CRM, CAD, down to IoT and service lifecycle management, and they create a massive amount of data from drawings down to instructions. And underneath of that transaction or transition, if you wish, is that bill of material transformation, because this lifetime of a product has got three major phases: is as designed, as manufactured, and as used and serviced, right? And you have to reflect that in the reality, right? So basically, that's all about the sequence. The digital twin basically is becoming the reality, or combining physical and digital data. And from the technology point of view, then basically we've got an IoT here playing a critical role, connecting a physical world with the digital world, you know, in moving data back from the, you know, reality to back in engineers and suppliers and service teams, etc. We and connection to Roman, we've got augmented reality really helping us to really deliver and consume all the data created over its lifetime much easier, because the simplicity of AR is here. And the third most important point here from the technology point of view is actually the role of PLM, Product Lifecycle Management, because it is the technology which basically collects the data from those different data sources and acts as a glue, right, and keeps the consistency and transparency of data across the product lifetime or equipment lifetime in this case, right? So if you look at it from the really very simplistic point of view, you've got a PLM in the middle, supplemented by 3D model. It's a foundation of everything. Then IoT data and AR. If you want to go a little bit wider, then you can also talk about cloud being as a, artificial intelligence, feeding, with the special math and, speed of the implementation, and special technologies like ANSYS Twin Builder, for example.
So this enables you to visualize machinery, networks, facilities. I mean, I'm just trying to think in my mind, right? I've got a conveyor system or a production line. You're saying in this glue of PLM, CAD drawings, IoT streaming data, I can bring this all in and visualize a robot in its function, understand how it moves, how it builds, where its limitations are, and we can model that as a digital twin before implementation.
Absolutely. So we tend to speak about digital twin only in regards to equipment, in fact. But if you look at it from this point of view, not only visualize, right? Because if you look at it from a sales point of view, you can create a variety of versions and variants of your products, right? And give them a choice to your customers to select much faster. And then because those products are in fact designed and built as a 3D models, right? Then you can go to the market, much faster, and that's actually the reason why companies like Caterpillar or John Deere became our customers back in 1990. Because we gave them a tool to substantially shorten time to market with the same quality and the same transparency of the entire product lifetime. Second point, visualization again. But the question is visualization what? Because if you use IoT, then you basically connect your digital model with the physical model, and you bring the data back. So basically, for the very first time, building the physical products like this massive earth mover, you are not blind. You're not blind. You know how this product is being used, how it is operated. How is it serviced? Because if you look at it from the SLA point of view, you would like to know, right? Third point, very, very important, is actually manufacturing, because once you define your product, you can define also manufacturing recipes. So you know how long it is going to take time to get the product out of your doors, right? So there is a lot of benefits, and I would highlight one. It's a quality and traceability, right? So basically, you know what is happening in each and every step of that process, so you can go back and trace it, and you know what happened in manufacturing, what happened in engineering, what happened in service, etc., right? And having all that information together, it would help you really to move from reactive mode to more autonomy mode, right? Just to really kind of like autopilot, right? Instead of checking each and every step, you know that everything is together managed and consistently communicated, right? So that's basically.
So Robert, I mean, so I've spent my fair share of time in manufacturing plants, etc., having integrated peripherals to ERPs and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And this is an unscripted question now: is what would move me from taking the basic start signal, cycle OK signal, in cycle signal, and move towards rather rendering or collecting data at a PLM level, CAD, sensory data? What is the drive behind that? It's a business. It's really a business, right? Because as you can see, and Carmel was very clear on that. You can take these different technologies and piece by piece and try here and over there, right? You can try AR here in a small project, just one one type of glasses or tablets or whatever, IoT connect Raspberry Pi and have a nice dashboard. But the real answer is, okay, what's the value for your business? How would you even spend a minute on that? Because even the time of your people is quite costly, right? So you have to look at it really from the business perspective, and I really love unscripted questions. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm full of them today. And what is I'm going to ask the same question I asked Roman. What is the typical client that's going to benefit from this? I mean, we all know automotive is, pioneering. We can look at aviation, the complexity thereof, etc. What is the typical client that's going to benefit from embracing digital twin into their business?
Yeah. So again, we tend to speak about very much about manufacturing, right? So basically products like that beautiful earth mover, and I'm always amazed by the size of it and the complexity of it, and I'm proud to be part of the company which helps to develop something like this. But if you look at it from the overall digital twin foundation perspective, then you can speak about digital twin of your factory, of your product, of your suburban, of a city, right? Of a educational system, of a healthcare basically being mirrored somehow. And I'm going really back to Roman, who said, really start building or at least start thinking about building a digital twin of the knowledge of your people, right? Because we invest quite a lot of money into factories, but COVID taught us that there is a huge lesson. Without people is not going to work, and if the people are not present, how could you make them present? You simply augment them, right? So, and that's basically going back, and so you've got basically a digital twin of your most skilled workers, experts, transferring that knowledge safely. Right, so that's basically, kind of like a very wide. I'm sorry for that answer for your question, but I see, examples of digital twins everywhere. But manufacturing, going back to manufacturing, is definitely one of the hotspots of digital twins, both product and factories. Right?
Are you seeing more and more clients building digital twins already into the products that they're selling? In other words, I procure an engine or a turbine. It ships with a digital twin, IoT enabled, ready to model and receive real-time feedback. Are we seeing more and more of that?
Yeah, we are definitely. Yeah, definitely we see that. And as I said, we are seeing these kind of like a siloed projects. So we speak to customer and you get the answer, okay, there is a team which uses, for example, GIS technology to build a digital twin of our factory, right? Then you've got another team, for example, driven by HR, trying to somehow capture the skills and expertise of a people, but they don't call it digital twin, but in fact it is a digital twin. Then you've got people designing their products and moving the production line just to make it more effective. So all these examples are in fact digital twins. So the answer to your question, yes, we see. And by the way, one of the call to action, I would definitely bring up right now in here is break down those silos, right? Because it is not like digital twin here and digital twin here and digital twin over there, right? It is a digital twin of your company, right? And everything has to work together. So bring people together, break these silos down. Think about this concept of digital twin. It's not that complex, actually. Of course, in case of Roman, what Roman said, create the digital twin of a human being. It's wow.
Complex.
It's a really breakthrough idea, but with augmented reality it's possible. But think about it, and how could digital twin fit in that project you run in your company? And how could make this predefined metrics happen, the business KPIs? And then basically also, and that's important, bring skilled partner in, right? Just because at the end, going back to my picture, you would need a bunch of technologies over the life. There is no single company which can really do everything. Yeah. Forget it, right? I mean, it's always an ecosystem, but there has to be a company like Deloitte, working as an umbrella, bringing those different technological suppliers, vendors like PTC with their state-of-the-art technologies, making things happen, right, and building that picture not only today, but tomorrow, right? So that going back to Carmelo, forget technology. It's more about cultural change and shift, right? But you need to think about wisely who you bring into the game, because you need to be sure that this company will last some time, because you don't want to work with somebody who is going to be bankrupt tomorrow, for example.
Robert, if I'm a client and I'm looking to digitally transform, we love that word in Deloitte, don't we? Digitally transform, but I'm thinking more to this keep alive type of message, right? The market's changing, we see it in the statistics, variants of products, customers are more demanding. I'm trying to evolve new products, new service offerings. Do you believe that the digital twin is a key milestone in accelerating that change in business?
One of the key milestones, right? It's not just one pillar,
Sure.
right? One of the key milestones, right? So we can speak about digital twin, we can speak about, PLM. We can speak about, integrating PLM, ERP. There are different milestones, and I believe there is already quite a lot of knowledge what to do first, right, or where to start. But for me, more important right now, whether it is like a digital twin or probably a digital thread, we talking lately. It's more like okay, let's go and start. And Deloitte has got a beautiful phrase for that. Think big. Start small, scale fast, right? So, regardless.
Tattooed on my.
Yeah. I bet you. It's not much about what if it is digital twin or digital whatever. Then really think about it. Start small and scale fast. Yeah. And we as a technology company and you as an advisory partner, we can help.
Brilliant, great, Robert. Thank you very much for that. And then I want to move into this next section with you, which was something I really had to actually study myself, and that's the topic of digital thread. And I was wondering if this was PTC setting a new trend, being the visionaries that you are, is digital thread, a conversation that you guys are starting. But really, when you talk digital thread, can you explain what the difference to you is between digital twin and a digital thread?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's one of the new concepts, actually, but not as new as it looks like. But it's wrapped into that. I don't want to call it marketing buzzword because it's very much technical, right?
Yeah.
So digital thread, in fact, is a sequence, right? It's a sequence of steps you take basically for example, from design to operational and use and maintenance. And ideally, if I can ask you to show this picture, because I'm getting back to the same picture I was sharing during the digital twin. If you do these steps digitally from end to end, right, you get a digital thread. Right? Digital thread. It's a chain. It's like a red line, right, which goes from A to Z, right? And the real question here is, okay, if you look at the machine builders, they do it already. They know how to do it. There is a bunch of machine builders who can really execute on that, and they can show you basically digital data and physical product connected, and they can map out, using PLM ideally, map out the whole process and at IoT coming, etc., etc. So digital thread. And if you look at it from the business point of view, from the business process point of view, what they do, right? So they build, manufacture, and service, and then lately, using IoT and AR, they monitor, these equipments to service and operate, etc., etc. And if you look at it from the company, from the factory machine user point of view, right? So what these guys do? They use the equipment. They monitor the equipment, they maintain the equipment, they service the equipment. So basically two groups of people, they do the same things, right? Yeah. So the real question here is how would, for example, it's a technical term, remote monitoring, machine builders, work with condition monitoring on the other side in the factories, right? What could be a benefit for bringing suppliers closer, machine builders closer to factories, and factories really sharing data and working with suppliers? Yeah. That's absolutely critical question right now, and I would say Deloitte has got a great example of that, and basically it brings great transparency into process. That's a very first point. Real-time intelligence. Second, once you share the data, you've got a clarity in your supply chain. Transparency. Second, once you are so flexible, sharing the data up and down, your process gets more flexible and adaptable, right? Yep. So that's also very important in those days, especially once you need to get your suppliers even closer to you. Yep. And once you have a control over your product, using the CAD, PLM, AR, and IoT line, you can create really highly customizable products much faster and get them to your end customers, right? Because you're ready somehow, including your suppliers, right?
Yep. So Robert, I got two quick questions for you because I'm noting that our time is running out, sadly. If we're talking about bringing the suppliers closer to the operations, I mean, I'm a supplier. No. One of the data components we said in this whole digital twin, digital thread was CAD drawings. I would imagine that's my intellectual property, right? Why would I want to share that with someone that's using my machine as part of their production facility? And how do you bridge that?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to talk about it, right?
It's a fantastic question, because that's basically the reality, right? So you design a machine, and then you spend days and weeks building basically paper-based documents like PDFs, docs, and you share those documents with your customer all together with the machine. And then on the other side, there is somebody who is trying to re-engineer the 3D reality out of the 2D papers. And if there is any change on that machine, the whole digital thread gets broken. It never exists anymore, right? So what we say today is augmented reality and this whole digital thread plus augmented reality makes this transition much easier, because in fact, if you take the digital data and you use the augmented reality to share them with your customers to do the training, maintenance, service, even operations, you are not losing that IP, right? Intellectual property.
Yeah.
Because the AR is kind of like fog, I would say. Sorry for that, but in fact, you cannot simply reconstruct easily, but you can easily share it up and down, right? And basically what we say to factories today, because we hear that from either side, we need the data about the machine and we don't want to share it. Well, it's a crazy world, really, a little bit. So basically we are bridging that, and we are saying, okay, guys, either side has to maintain the same principles, right? So if you want to use, maintain, and service your machines, and you guys, you monitor and service and maintain your machines as well, so you do the same thing. Share the data, talk to each other, right? And use the same principles, for example, like PLM. We hear also factories saying, but we are not engineering companies, we don't want to use all that stuff, right? The suppliers use. You don't need to, right? There are already tools like CAD and PLM on cloud.
Yeah.
No investment, no additional hardware, nothing. You just simply switch the web browser, you put your login in, and you are there, right? And you can easily share data. So once the spare part needed to be 3D printed, you can ask your supplier, put it on your 3D printer, get it done, and keep the production running, and have that whole picture of digital, physical working together, right? On the supply side and on the factory side.
So then, Robert, last question to you, and then we will move into a general section where hopefully there's 1 or 2 questions coming through the audience. I'm interested, again, in digital twin. What are the building blocks? What are the data sources that I need? Or what are the items I should be considering as a manufacturing plant, as a client that wants to embrace digital twin? What are the key building blocks I would need to consider?
Right. Look at it from the physical and digital point of view, right? So you need a physical, machines, factories, facilities, people, systems, network. It's a physical reality. Collect data. It's a really absolutely critical point. Second point, use that data, right? It's not because it's so cheap to store the data that you collect and you put them somewhere. No, take the data and look at it, analyze the data, to bring you into a more like autonomy mode, right? And then turn the data into actionable, items like, okay, if there is something going wrong, I know it from the data because I analyze them. Feed that data with the instructions from AR into a, service technician who knows what to do to do it for the first time right, right? That's absolutely critical. Collect data, analyze them, integrate them, synthesize them, convert them into wisdom, and give that wisdom to either machines, facilities, systems, networks, or people in the very much consumable way. And from this point of view, the AR is the tool. The tool.
Brilliant, brilliant. Robert, thank you very much for that. That's super insightful. I know we should actually do this over a beer sometime because it's quite a big topic. And unfortunately, we're running out of time. So we don't have time, unfortunately, to take questions from the audience. However, I do welcome, if there's someone in the audience that has a question for us, please do pose that to us. We'd love to connect with you in the coming days and really be able to get back to you on these topics. I'm hoping that this was something tangible to you. I know it was just a discussion, but Carmela's insights, Vladya's insights with us remotely, our insights from Deloitte as business top-down sort of leaders together with your visionary market-leading products and tools. I'm hoping that you see an alliance that potentially is someone that you'd want to engage with. If you're having these discussions internally, augmented reality, digital twin, where to start, I really want to put this out to you. If you're a client that's saying, I don't know where to start, because I've had these discussions as well. I know I need to start collecting data, we'd love to talk to you. Please reach out to us. If you're a client that's, you have data and you don't know what to do with it, you don't know how to derive value from it, because we see a lot of that actually in this region. We're collecting data. We knew we had to embark on this journey, but now we're not sure how to use it. There's ways that we can help together as an alliance to shape that for you. And if you're digitally mature and you already have invested the time and energy in some of the POCs, some of the topics that we've been talking about today, then really this is I guess, a shout out to you. Well done. This is really exciting. You're probably in the really advanced bracket as far as Industry 4.0 initiatives go, but we'd love to engage with you. We'd love to learn from you. We'd love to be able to share your experiences, and we'd love to be able to help you with the next step on your journey. Some of just the key takeaways I really want to summarize for us, just playing it back in my mind. The technology exists, right? I know every time I speak to Robert, and Carmelo said the same thing, the technology exists. It's there. PTC has been doing this for a long time. They're market leaders. The business leaders are in your market. I promise you, Deloitte is present as well in the Central European market. So we'd love to talk to you. Data is key. I think data is key. So if you're in a C-suite level and you're thinking, does this Industry 4.0 topic, is it really going to bring tangible benefits? I think Carmelo explicitly laid that out, saying that the value has already been proved in some of the more progressive markets. It's coming this way, and we'd really like to help you on the journey of discovery in this particular area. So that's just the call to action, if I will. We're willing to speak to you and reach out to you. And like I said, if you have any further questions, please do drop us a line. That would be fantastic. I just want to thank, firstly, those that stayed on the line with us. I know there was a lot of discussion. We didn't get to interact too much with you throughout the session, but thank you for staying with us. Carmelo, Vladya, thank you very much for your time. It was very, very insightful. Go well, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
too.
And for having.
Great. And to our panelists, Iveta, Roman, Robert, thank you. It's been great. Robert, sorry for the questions I threw at you without preparation.
No whatsoever.
I thought I'd tweak it up a little bit. So thank you very much for your time. Yeah, really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Take care.
And to the audience, thank you very much. You've got our names, our numbers. Please do reach out to us. We'd love to have a discussion with you. I wish you a safe and wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Go well.
Goodbye.